Did you help Lincoln Clay murder Sal Marcano and all prominent members of his crime family?
You're goddamn right I did.
Hold my head, ooh baby, it's a long way down to the bottom of the river.
Hi everyone, welcome back to E3 2016 with Outside Xbox, where we've just gone out of a demonstration of Mafia 3, and we're going to tell you the reasons why we're excited for Mafia 3. So first of all, the setting of
Yes.
Mafia 3 is pretty unique.
Yes, right. So it's called New Bordeaux, basically, but it is essentially New Orleans in the 1960s. So it's a kind of interesting sort of city as it stands, but having that kind of like 60s vibe to it, the kind of music as well really flows into that stuff. The soundtrack is incredible. But yeah, so you've got the kind of vibrant French Quarter, you've got the Bayou, which we saw a bit of, which was pretty exciting. And then, you know, more sort of upmarket kind of mansions and suburbia.
Yeah, the
and
equivalent
things like
of Bourbon Street, where, you know, all the bars and the partying's going on. The Bayou looked incredible, like actually super creepy. But also there's a lot of like water there for traversal, like
full of alligators as well, from what I can tell.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of diversity to the different areas you can go to in the game. And the game setting sort of feeds into the next thing that is exciting about the game, which is its story.
Yes.
So it's set in the 1960s, as you said, and the main character, Lincoln Clay, he's a Vietnam veteran.
Yeah, he runs in with the black mob after he's come back from Vietnam. He's a kind of mixed race orphan, and he gets involved with the black mob, and then the Italians come in and kind of sucker punch them, kill a bunch of them. So he's out for revenge against a guy called Sal Marcano, who's the don of the Italian mob, and he's basically on a quest to kind of gather together other sort of disenfranchised organised criminals and take on Sal Marcano. It's a really interesting plot. Lincoln Clay finds himself at sort of the flashpoint between a bunch of different things, including the sort of civil rights movement, the anti-war sort of effort and things like that. So you really are this kind of like central sort of pivotal character in the fortunes of New Bordeaux, but also of the issues of the age.
We got to see some of the way that you actually run your Mafia racket in the game, and that was actually really interesting to me. The main thing that they showed was these sit-downs that you do. So the way that Lincoln runs things is he's in charge, and then he's got 3 underbosses, one of whom is actually the character from the last Mafia game, Vito.
Yeah.
When you take over a new section of New Bordeaux, you could then get the option to assign it to one of your underbosses.
Yes.
And you have these things called sit-downs, where you sit around a table with your underbosses, and they each pitch you their vision for that section of the city. So someone wants to use it to run guns, someone else thinks it'd be good for bootlegging alcohol, that sort of thing. And you can decide which one you think is going to be the best for the area, and then you assign that district to that person. But they're not going to be happy if they don't get what they want, and if you keep not giving them what they want, then they're going to be particularly upset with you. But I thought that was an interesting mechanic I hadn't really seen in a Mafia game before. So each of the underbosses has sort of perks that they can assign to you. So depending on which underboss you give the district to, you can unlock the ability to have guns delivered to you, or to call in reinforcements from
Vito's Italian heavies.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you're in the middle of a gunfight and a big car full of guys in fedoras turns up and starts firing. It's going to depend on how you play, who you decide to assign things to, but bringing us to our next point, it also has consequences as well. These decisions that you make, they do have consequences. As we were saying earlier, if you keep overlooking one of your underbosses, they're not happy about it, are they?
Right, so this is one of the things I speculated about in our previous Mafia video. I got to see one of the sit-downs, but not what the kind of end result was if you continue to annoy someone. And I was speculating that actually, if you piss someone off enough, they're going to betray you eventually, and then you'll have them as an enemy. And that's exactly what happened in the demo with Burke, who is a Northern Irish gang leader. So he got angry and stormed off, and he said,
"The next time I see your black hide, it will be at the end of my goddamn gun."
We saw a little glimpse of Lincoln Clay going out to Burke's sort of home base area and actually taking the fight to him. which is pretty cool. The idea of an ally becoming an enemy based on your decisions is a really neat one.
Especially as you've only got 3 underbosses, so if you alienate one and they're gone forever, then that's a whole section of the game, a whole like perk tree basically closed off to you.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out in the final game, if people are going to try and balance all of them and keep everything fair, or if people are just going to choose kind of their favourite capo and then just like...
Yeah, it's going to become like not just this kind of moral choice, like where you see yourself aligning with each of the 3 underbosses and their kind of vision, but also just each one of them has abilities that will help you. So like I think Cassandra has the ability to bring a van in with a bunch of guns so you can restock before a mission. That's super important, you know, for making sure you've got the right gear for a particular mission or a particular approach to a mission. So you might be thinking, well, I don't like Cassandra very much, but I really need those guns. So it's going to become not just a kind of moral decision, but also like a very practical decision as well.
And the final thing that we wanted to touch on, I think this is more you than me, but you're a big fan of the cars in this game.
Yeah, so it being the 60s, it's the sort of beginning of the era of rad muscle cars, and Lincoln Clay has his own sort of signature vehicle, and you can kind of modify it as you go through the game. The thing's pretty powerful, it's all wheel spin and kind of like awesome handling and stuff, so yeah, just because it's a game set in the 60s doesn't mean you'll be driving slow cars. I remember the first Mafia, you were kind of pootling along at sort of 40 miles an hour. This thing goes a lot faster.
And after all that hype, there is one thing that we're slightly uncertain about with the game, and that's how it's going to play in terms of combat.
Yeah,
because it seemed to be, the demo that we saw, there was a lot of cover-based shooting, just sort of over and over again, execution animations, cover, shoot. So I'm going to be interested to find out how varied the gameplay is going to be across the missions, or if it's literally going to be drive here, shoot everyone, drive somewhere else.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there are stealth elements to it, so you can kind of. We saw Lincoln kind of infiltrating a motel stealthily, but once you start the fight, you are going to be shooting your way out in so many situations, and a lot of times, certainly the demo I played back a few months ago. It descends into a firefight, whatever you do. You can't stealth all the way through. So it's going to be interesting to see just how much it delivers on that kind of variety of combat, or whether you will be just like in massive gunfights for a long period of time.
Yeah, having not played it, I don't know how satisfying the gunplay is and if it can sustain that sort of amount of gunplay throughout the entire campaign. Hopefully they'll mix it up with different kinds of missions and it won't feel stale every time you have to do a gunfight. So far, that's a lot of what they've shown off, but fingers crossed they're going to mix it up a bit in the final game.
Yeah, one thing I find encouraging is that the stuff we saw today, the kind of denouement of the demo was a big fight on a paddle steamer basically out in the bayou, and it was kind of cinematic, you know. The entire thing was kind of sinking and listing and kind of furniture was sliding around, so they're definitely trying to tell a story with these missions, but ultimately a lot of shooting, a lot of throwing Molotovs at people's faces. That happened a lot. And so, yeah, just knowing whether it will continue to mix things up as the missions go on is our major concern.
Drive your son like a railroad spine.
It's over.
This is never going to be over.
That was a look at Mafia 3 from the show floor here at E3 2016. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time on Outside Xbox.